The Bike of the Year testing's finished. The 40 plus bikes that we've tested over the 3 price categories are all in. We've made the decision, and our 2018 Bike of the Year is Giant's TCR Advanced 2. Now the TCR is a name that's been around for a long time. In fact, Bike of the Year testing, which we've now been doing for a decade, in that very first year, a TCR won. So this bike is probably the most developed race bike ever. Giant have never dropped it, they've never wavered away from that original compact design. And prior to the TCR, road bikes had horizontal top tubes, they were just 2 triangles, very traditional looking. That completely changed with the original TCR. We got super sloping top tube, almost like a mountain bike hardtail kind of style. And over the years, Giant have continued down that path, developing and developing. They were one of the first instigators of dropping seat stays down, leaving loads of exposed seat post. The one-piece seat mast we first saw on the TCR, and that still exists today on the top-end models. So this is a frame that has just been refined and refined and refined, and it's one that we keep coming back to, and every time we get to try a new iteration of it, we continue to love it. So the TCR frameset comes in 3 grades of carbon, and what we've got as our Bike of the Year is actually the most modest version. And being the Advanced 2, this is the 2nd tier in the lineup. After this model, you know, it drifts up into the SLs and disc variants, etc., etc. But we just think, bang for buck, this Advanced 2 is so impressive. 50 quid shy of £1,500, what you're getting is a really sweet riding carbon frameset, and built into that is full Shimano 105, great to see at this price, and just such a highly competent group set. It's so sweet, so nice to use. It offers Ultegra level of kind of tactile feel and performance at a fraction of the price, which is really great to see. And where Giant have also really scored this year is been in their investment into own brand parts. Own brand parts used to be a kind of, you know, you'd sort of sniff at it, it's a bit substandard, it's a, you know, oh, they've just gone for a cheap option and printed on it. Whereas Giant have really taken to heart actually making their own brand products much better. So you get a really nicely shaped cockpit, great bar shape, really nice stiff stem, even things down to like the seat post is really decent quality. Their wheels are tremendously good now. They've got a kind of few years partnership in it now with DT Swiss, so we're getting really nice grade hubs, really nicely built wheels. And another place where Giant are really starting to stand out on the market is their wholehearted acceptance of tubeless as the future for road. So not only do they supply, like many other brands, tubeless ready wheels, tubeless ready tyres, etc. With Giant, what you actually get is that bike set up tubeless. Valves installed, sealants in place, ready to roll. So you can get on it and you can enjoy the advantages that a tubeless tyre brings. That ability to run slightly lower rolling resistances, the improved puncture protection, and just the smooth, beautifully grippy, supple feel that you get from good quality tubeless tyres straight out of the box. There's no faffing once you get the bike home. There's no, you know, trying to get a tyre to seat. It's all been done for you. And Giant should really be applauded for that. Obviously, with any kind of new technology that comes into, especially road bikes, people do get a bit of a fear about how do I maintain it, what happens when things go wrong. But with tubeless, you know, you never really have to do that great deal of maintenance, as long as you're staying on top of tyre pressures and that sort of thing. And you know, if the tyre does get a proper decent cut that means it's going to deflate, you repair it properly, you'll actually find it's just much less trouble than riding a bike fitted out with traditional inner tubes. We'll always appreciate not having to stuff spare inner tubes in our back pocket when we go out riding. A lot of you out there will probably be questioning the fact that we've chosen a bike as Bike of the Year that's got traditional rim brakes. Now, the split in the testing between all the bikes was pretty much 50-50 between rim and disc, and lots of accusations get thrown that, you know, we're promoting this kind of disc agenda, etc. But we'd just like to say that we're completely sort of agnostic about either way. You know, if a bike's a good bike, then irrespective of brake specification, as it were, we just like a bike when it's a good bike, and the TCR Advanced is most certainly that. If you really must have disc, and I've got nothing against the TCR disc, in fact, I've just bought an Advanced SL disc frame set. I've been using it for the last year. I think it's a phenomenally good bike, and it's one that I just couldn't bear to be without, as it were. So if you really are a fan of road discs, then Giant start the Advanced, equivalent model to this one, with this at around £400 more. Arguably it's not quite as good value as this one, but it's still, you know, a tremendously capable bike. As we've said, the real thing that we love about the TCR is the way that over the years they haven't thrown the baby out with the bathwater. They've just continued this ever incremental process of evolution. They're shaving weight here, they're refining shapes, but those fundamentals of that kind of compact geometry road bike, which gives you like just phenomenally good handling traits. You know, having such a compact frame underneath you means you can really chip the bike around, throw it into corners, and it's got this inherent sharpness to it. And the way that Giant go about the construction, we're really impressed with too. Up front you get that overdrive headset, so it's super large, super tapered, but they've matched that to a fork that's advanced on from the previous generation's forks. TCRs of old, they tended to go with this kind of pseudo aero kind of style for the fork, which was stiff, direct, but didn't quite offer any of that kind of vibration buzzing ability. Now the new fork is much more stiletto shaped, it's got much more taper to it, and it does a really fine job of just smoothing out ruts and ripples in poorer road surfaces. When you combine that with what's going on at the back, they've got that kind of semi-aero shape to the seat tube and a slim, super long seat post sticking out of that. Again, combining that with the drop stage, you get a massive amount of compliance that's coming out the back. So while this bike handles and has got the stiffness properties of an out-and-out pro-level race bike, it's countered with this kind of supple, smooth quality that quite a lot of sportive and endurance bikes out there would be proud to have. Giant obviously are a massive brand, probably one of the biggest in the world, and you can see that reflected in the amount of investment they put into R&D to create bikes as sublimely good as the TCR Advanced. But where it might not be quite so prevalent is just how good they are at putting together a package. The value in this Advanced 2 is phenomenal. It's up there with the likes of Canyon, Rose, Ribble, all of those direct-to-market guys. What you're buying here is a really good, solid investment. It's in a fantastic frame that you could upgrade to your heart's content, and you would still have a phenomenally good, phenomenally quick, wonderful handling, traditional race bike. So the TCR Advanced 2 is the bike of the year, and it was up against some really stiff competition. We brought it down to a short list of 40 bikes, all of which were thoroughly tested. We took our favourites out to Italy for a week's thorough testing and riding up in the mountains, up in various terrain. And so from that final selection, the TCR Advanced 2 was still the bike that won our hearts.